Over the last few weeks, I've had the opportunity to reflect on what I wanted to say at this event. And I thought of many anecdotes, but the more I thought, the more I realized there were themes. And of the themes that there were probably three themes that I feel we could all learn from him in our lives and take away as things that we could work on ourselves. The first, and describing my dad, is fierce independence. If you've ever interacted with him, you absolutely know that there's no convincing him that a fact is a fact if he doesn't believe it to be so. And he would defend it to the very last moment. And I realized when I was about the age of 4, he came to the conclusion that I was not defending myself correctly. So he promptly put boxing gloves on me on the back lawn and gave me about a 20-minute boxing lesson. After which he said, for each bully that I stood up to, he would pay me R1. Now, R1 in 1981 could buy you a few Kit Kats and maybe a lunch bar, so a significant reward for a 4-year-old, something that I was extremely enthusiastic about. He then turned me around and sent me back to Tiny Tots the next day, and I was cruising on the playground when I approached a young boy wearing a Superman suit. So I walked up to him and said, hey, could I please use the suit when he was done with it? And he took to throwing me over his shoulder immediately and then running away. And I thought this was the best opportunity now for me to practice my newly found boxing skills. So I tracked him down and bumped him on the nose with one good thwack, and he ran off crying. And I walked away proudly, feeling like this was the best way now to resolve conflicts as a 4-year-old. I had learned a great lesson. He, of course, sent one of his friends after me to sort me out, and I dispatched the second one in the same way I dispatched the first. And then there was a third, to which I did precisely the same. I came home proudly later that day and told my parents about my great achievements. Of course, Tiny Tots had reached out to them prior to my telling of the story. And unfortunately, the incentive system was dispensed with very quickly. I did get R1 for my endeavors, but the fact was, ever since that day, my dad continued to support and push all of us to be independent. His wife, my mom, my sister, and myself, to be independent and not to be bullied into any positions that we didn't believe in. The next theme, of course, was banter and a strong sense of humor. If any of you have had dinner or lunch in a restaurant with my father, you would know what I mean. No waiter or waitress was safe from any strings of banter or humorous abuse that may occur. From inviting the waitress out for me when I was 14 years old, at which point in time I wished the earth would open and swallow me whole. But my favorite story was at one point in time when he and my mom came to visit me in America. And I wanted to really make sure that they were going to have a good time. So I had organized a schedule where we could see various parts of the country. But at one point in time, we took them to a really fancy restaurant in New York City. You know, the type of place that's dark and has the white tablecloths and has the waiters all dressed in fancy suits. And when the dinner opened, the wine steward handed me a menu and said, what type of wine would you like? And before I had the opportunity to answer, my dad stepped forth and said something like, oh, we only drink the best. The wine steward, of course, without missing a beat, turned to the back of the wine list, which was about as thick as an encyclopedia, and put the wine list down in front of me. To my horror, the wine started at around $30,000 per bottle. To which I said, no, this is too much. So the wine steward again picked up the menu and then paged a few pages forward, put it down again, and now we were $2,000 a bottle. To which I had to respond something like, no, it needs to be 10 times cheaper than that, please. To which we ended up paying still way more than I wanted to spend on a bottle of wine at dinner that night. But what was excellent about that dinner as it progressed was that the wine steward had a superb sense of humor and knew exactly how to engage with my father. Each time we ordered food or wine or anything from him, my dad was espousing how much better South Africa was than anything that he could buy in America, including the wine or the food. And the banter continued as the evening progressed. The wine steward would pour him wine, claiming that it was from South Africa, when it clearly wasn't. So this wine was from Paul, and that wine was from Stellenbosch, but they were probably all American wines, if I remember correctly. The evening came to a culmination when my dad also put out another statement about South Africa being the best. And the wine steward responded by saying, "I have it on good authority that God is South African." To which my father responded, "Yes, he is, and he lives next door to me." The last aspect that I wanted to touch on is his enthusiasm and support of others. Nobody was as enthusiastic as my dad about anything, or supportive. If I or my sister or my mom took up anything, even people that were friends of the family or even people he did not know so well, could always be met with a huge amount of enthusiasm. Whether it be the building of the Cobra, which he let me drive when I was 18, or the operation of my lab, much like his, where my primary goal was to build rockets and explosives, but there was no intervention. I was never stopped. And all of these things allowed us all to grow with a lot of love and support around us. So when reflecting on my dad, for us, for me, I hope to take away that fierce independence, that sense of humor, and that enthusiasm as I live the rest of my life, and I hope that we can all do the same together. Thank you very much.